That's my brother.
Okay. When was the last time you were here with them? Or talked to them or anything like that?
It was earlier tonight.
You still told the same lie. And all those reasons that you just gave this jury about the most important part of your testimony was a lie too.
Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies starts now.
Hello, Reporter Room investigators. We have so much stuff to get into. We are going to be talking about Alex Murdaugh and his biggest flying monkey. We're going to be talking about Maggie and what led up to her being done away with. And I'm watching my words here. We're going to look into Paul's final hours. And I'm going to prove to you that Alex lied on that 911 call. I usually don't put my disclaimer at the very top of the video, but because of the controversial topics that we're going to be talking about today, I'm going to CYA. So everything I'm sharing with you today is my opinion, and opinions are not facts. So please don't send any negativity to anyone, anytime. Let's be kind to each other. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up so I know you were here. Today we're going to be talking about Alex Murdaugh, Maggie Murdaugh, John Marvin Murdaugh, and Paul Murdaugh. Now, Fox News has now interviewed Maggie's nail technician, and she has confirmed what I had already reported to you about a month ago, that Maggie was indeed seeking a divorce from Alex Murdaugh. We're going to talk about John Marvin Murdaugh. This is Alex Murdaugh's youngest brother, and how he fits into this equation. How long has he been doing Alex bidding, and how did he end up becoming the person who handled Maggie's will? And we're going to talk about this in just a moment, so please stay with me. In my opinion, if the nail tech knew about it, then Alex would have surely heard about this. He would have known that Maggie was looking into possibly divorcing him. So why would this be such a big problem for Alex? Well, first of all, Maggie owned 100% of Moselle, all of it. Second, Maggie owned half of their beach house, so she had about $5 million in assets to her name. And finally, I reported out to you weeks ago, and if I was hearing this, you know that Hampton County is very small, and so Alex would have known that Maggie was considering getting a divorce. This would have brought him shame, and he's greedy, and the shame would have led into a rage. In a narcissistic person, shame spirals into a rage, and maybe you've experienced this in your own life. Maybe you were married to a narcissist, or maybe you had a narcissist for a sibling or a parent. So they cannot handle shame, and for a covert narcissist, shame is the worst. And the prosecutor Waters knew it, and that's why he used it over and over during his cross-examination of Alex Murdaugh. So let's talk about Alex's number one flying monkey. And in my opinion, his flying monkey is his younger brother, John Marvin. All right, let's talk about John Marvin now. And in a moment, I'm going to share with you Paul's final hours, and I'm going to prove to you that Alex Murdaugh lied to the 911 operator, who he described as very good in the tape. Let's continue on, shall we? Let's continue on. So how did John Marvin end up handling Maggie's estate after she passed? I think it's really sketchy. And Alex Murdaugh claimed that Maggie did not have any life insurance. And this is really difficult to believe in light of the fact that Alex Murdaugh had millions in life insurance on himself, $10 million to be exact. And this is why Alex claimed he hired someone to shoot him, right? So now, this could have also been to get sympathy. And I never thought this was about getting $10 million for Buster, because if we've learned anything about Alex, it's that Alex only cares about Alex. But nevertheless, the fact that Alex had this massive insurance policy on himself makes it hard to believe that Maggie would have no life insurance at all. So if Maggie had life insurance, where did the money go? Also, Maggie's bank account had just over $56 in it at the time of her demise. What happened to all her money? Who was draining her bank account? The prosecutor described John Marvin's cars, because the whole vehicle thing, how he ended up in Paul's vehicle on the night of June 7th, 2021. He described it as a shell game when he was questioning John Marvin. And it's very interesting because John Marvin also testified that he got an escort from a local sheriff whom he reached out to the crime scene. And I just want to ask you, if you are having car trouble, do you get a private escort from the sheriff's office? Can you pick up the phone and call your local sheriff and they'll follow you wherever you're going to go until your car breaks down and then they give you a ride? Was there some kind of plan in place by Alex Murdaugh to have his sheriff, maybe somebody that he owned or somebody who was in his pocket or someone he thought he owned or someone he thought he had in his pocket, come to the crime scene? But unfortunately for Alex Murdaugh, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, also known as SLED, beat him to the punch. And I'm going to share proof with you that Alex Murdaugh lied in that 911 call, and I'm going to talk about Paul's final hours and some new revelations in just a moment, so please stay with me. Conveniently, Randolph Murdaugh III was on his deathbed on June 7th, 2021, when Alex did away with Maggie and Paul, and Alex would have known how ill his father was. We heard testimony from Jeannie Seckinger, the CFO of the law firm formerly known as PMPED, and you will recall her testimony regarding questioning Alex about missing money from the law firm and their clients. John Marvin did. So the timing of what happened to Maggie and Paul is interesting, because who ended up handling Maggie's will? John Marvin did. Who drove the boat away from an active crime scene after the boat crash? John Marvin did. Mallory Beach's parents weren't even admitted to the area, but John Marvin's allowed to go in there and take that boat? Who got a police escort and was showing up with their own personal sheriff on June the 7th? John Marvin did. I think that Alex Murdaugh was leaking truth here. He lured Maggie to Moselle. Now, did he know for sure that Paul was going to be there? I think he did, and I think that Paul was part of the plan. There's been a lot of speculation as to whether Paul was part of it or not, and I think some people just have a hard time wrapping their head around the idea that someone could do away with their own child. And I'm going to talk about Paul's final weekend, and I'm going to share the proof in that 911 call, but let's dig a little bit into Maggie's final hours. So did law enforcement bring in SLED to deter the Murdaugh family from yet another alleged cover-up? Alex needed cash because he was under investigation, a grand jury investigation for financial crime. Maggie had around $50 to $60 in her bank account, as I mentioned a few moments ago, at the time that she died. And this makes no sense because she was ordering things for Moselle, including decorating items in the tens of thousands of dollars. So I can see being somewhat off on your checkbook, but you would have some idea of what's in your bank account. So what happened to all of Maggie's money? And was someone draining her bank account leading up to June 7th? Remember, Alex Murdoch told us that someone had planned this for, quote, a long time. Paul, in his final weekend on this earth, was in Charleston, South Carolina, and it's being reported that Paul's credit card was declined. Now, we know Paul's nickname was the Little Detective. So if Paul knew about this, then I am quite sure that Maggie would have learned about this too. This is just one more piece of information that would have added shame to Alex Murdaugh. And we know when narcissists face shame, it turns into rage. Let's review the final hours leading up to Paul and Maggie's demise. And then we're going to talk about that 911 call. We know from Maggie's sister, Miriam Proctor, that Maggie didn't even want to go to Moselle. And she was wondering, Maggie was, what was up with Alex. And Paul was staying with different family members during this time after the boating crash. And I'm going to talk about that 911 call in just a second. And as I shared with you in my last video, living with Alex would have been emotionally exhausting. In my opinion, he is a narcissist, just from the research I've done as a journalist, and probably also has sociopathic tendencies. But like many narcissists, Alex was in constant need of admiration and adoration. And if you've ever lived with a narcissist, you know you're walking on eggshells. This constant supply, they will retaliate against you. They will even go so far as to assassinate your character, and we know Alex took it much further than that. He literally did away with his own wife and his own son. Let's discuss Paul's last weekend alive, and I'm going to share proof that Alex lied in that 911 call. I'm just going to play the very beginning of this 911 call. Listen to this and tell me what you hear.
Emergency. This is Alex Murdoch. It's 2147 Moselle Road.
Did you catch it? This was caught by YouTuber Van Schaik. Listen once more, and listen this time. You will hear the 911, and it starts recording. You can hear the dogs barking faintly in the background. It starts recording before they answer. So you don't hear any crying or sobbing until right when the 911 operator is about to answer the phone. And then Alex starts up. And I think that this is proof. It's just another layer of proof that Alex Murdoch really did do this to Maggie and Paul. Listen one more time.
Emergency. This is Alex Murdoch. It's 2147 Moselle Road.
Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe.